This presentation is titled Conversion and Evaluation of Raku Files. My name is Anton Antonov. I'm going to be using the articles written by Elizabeth Mathiasen called Don't Fear the Grepper. It's a series of articles. Only 6 at this point. I think the plan is to have a dozen or 20, and we'll see. So Elizabeth keeps a repository with the articles and GitHub repository, and I have taken that the files from that repository. Let's actually show it here, right? So the Markdown versions of those, of the original versions, as far as I know, of the posts being here, Don't Fear the Grepper, and I'm going to combine those articles into one big document and then convert it into pod6 file, pod6, and also into a Mathematica notebook and a Jupyter notebook. We'll see that all of these notebooks can be evaluated. The main message of this presentation is that we can do some sort of literate programming using Markdown articles with Raku, and also not just Markdown, but pod6 files, or we can also use notebooks in which we can combine text and code and produce explanations or do reproducible experiments, or just experiment and play around with Raku. There of course some additional things that need to be done when we convert into notebooks. It's some of the adjustments I'm going to explain how they're going to be done over the files we produce. And so this somewhat too busy of a diagram shows all of the steps above, so we're going to go through all of the steps one after the other. All right, so first let me concatenate all of these files into one big file, right? So I'm going to do something like this, right? And I'm going to open that big file somewhere here, right? And we can see, let's render it, right? So we can see that we have all of these articles, like say part 1, part 2, 3, 4, and so forth, right? They're all here. All right, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to do the evaluation of this file, right? So by evaluation, we'll see what I mean by this. So this is going to produce this new Markdown file with the suffix uven, right? And I'm going to open it, and so presumably we can compare what's the difference. So here is just the same content, but the code cells are evaluated. So I don't think it's immediately obvious from this evaluation document here, but the results from the previous evaluations of the cells, they can be used in the subsequent cells, right? The cells are not evaluated by themselves, right? The whole thing, it's being run into one big Raku kernel, or through a certain connection. So okay, now I'm going to do another transformation here. So I'm going to convert the Markdown file into pod6 file. So I'm going to do Markdown here, right? And I'm going to convert it into pod6. And I need to say that this is a conversion here. Actually, I need to say that my target, it needs to be pod6, right? Okay, so this here produced this this pod6 file, which I'm going to open here, and this is an application called PodLite, written by Alexander Zahatsky, and we can see yeah, we can see what, yeah, we have this representation here. All right, great. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to evaluate that file, right? So that pod6 file. And so again, it produced this this file here, and if I open it, right, and this went to my other screen, and just bring it, drag it here. Now we should see that this has produced this outputs for the code cells. The actual prefixes, the actual prompts before the code and the outputs, it can be adjusted. I'm not going to be showing this now, but yeah, I mean, this is something we can do. All right, so let me close some of this here. So going to this diagram, so yeah, we did this first part. Now we're going to do conversions to Mathematica and show the evaluation there and say possible adjustments. So I'm going to use this from Markdown. It's the same function, but I'm not going to, actually, I don't need to do all of these special options here. So this is going to produce Mathematica notebook code, right? And what I can do is I can use the shell command. This is for Apple, macOS, shell command pbcopy, and so this produces, puts the code into the clipboard, and if I try to paste that code in this Mathematica notebook, Mathematica is telling me, look, this seems to be a notebook expression. Do you want to just open a new notebook? And I say yes. And so here we have this, yeah, we have this notebook representation. So unfortunately, that's far from ideal. So we can see here that some of the Raku code has been treated as Mathematica cell code, and we can see that the this Raku code cell is being treated, is being marked as Raku, but I mean, we cannot evaluate it. Mathematica at this point understands it has quite a lot of external evaluators, right? Like say Python here. I mean, if I need to convince people that this is a Python evaluation, I mean, I can do, I guess, something like this. But for Raku, we need to do something else, right? And so we both need to specify a concrete Raku cell, what it is, and we also need to specify how we deal, what exactly is the language for the code cells in the Markdown document, which do not have, let me show this Markdown document, the code cells in the Markdown document which do not have the language specified. So if I show here, you can see some of these code cells, right? They have Raku, great, you know. But some of the cells, like for example, yeah, so where is it? Yeah, somewhere here, right? They're just code cells, right? They're code blocks, but without the language being specified. All right, so the function from Markdown, it does have options to deal with this, right? And so it's one, I mean, I can basically, okay, let me see what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to say that, okay, this option here, it can be used to produce, to specify the Raku cell, what is the Raku cell, and also this option here, the default language, can be used to specify what language we want to be treated by default. So let me find this this command which produced our Markdown to Mathematica, and I'm going to say that my language is Raku, and I'm going to say that my Raku cell is Raku input execute. And again, I'm going to copy this into the clipboard, right? And again, I'm going to let me close this notebook. Forgot to close it, but let me paste the new one here. Now this one here is let me zoom. It does have Raku cells, but in order to this to be understood as Raku cells, I need to convert the whole notebook into Raku mode. So, and you can see now all of these cells, which before was mathematical cells, now they are Raku cells, right? Actually, let's select the whole thing and evaluate it, and you can see, you know, like say, you know, we can see some kind of results here for all of this. All right, so this is actually, this is more or less what we are trying to achieve, right? We want to have this notebook environment in which I can run different parts of the code and, you know, use the code in some way in the subsequent cells and so forth, right? Now, something here, Mathematica it has a very mature notebook solution. So I basically wrote this Raku mode in order to be able to deal specifically with Raku code. But for example, there is a function, resource function, which is converts into dark mode, right? It's kind of in the similar vein. This function is just cosmetic. It just converts to dark mode. But yeah, Raku mode works in the same way. It basically makes the notebooks in Mathematica amenable to deal with Raku code cells. And of course, I can still have, you know, say Python if I want, or whatever it is. All right, I'm not going to expand further on that, except I forgot to mention this. Setting up this Raku mode, there is a package, Mathematica package, that needs to be downloaded first, and that Mathematica package provides the function start Raku process, in which you can specify which Raku you want to use. And now we have certain Raku process. We have via 0MQ, we have certain channel, a socket being connects Mathematica with Raku, and this is how the evaluation happened. This is exactly the same mechanism which is being used when I evaluate the pod files and the markdown files. Now, all of this I have seen by the package of Brian Dugan for doing this type of computations with Jupyter Raku, to connect Jupyter and Raku. And so this is what we're doing next. I'm going to convert this notebook from Markdown into Jupyter notebook. So JupyText is, I'm going to use the command JupyText, right? So it's a comprehensive command. Ideally, these conversions from Markdown or whatever, I should have probably done it through JupyText. I really don't know how to do it, and to be honest, I'm not that curious doing it at this point. But you can see this this program understands different types of scripts, right? Like say Markdown, R Markdown, Julia, Python, R, and so forth, right? So ideally, it would have been nice if JupyText also understands Raku files, Raku scripts, or POD6 files, and then makes conversions to say Jupyter notebooks or Markdown or whatever it is, right? What I'm going to be doing here, I'm going to say that I want to convert from Markdown to IPy and B, and I want to convert this this MD file, right? And this one I want to convert it to IPy and B, and I need to specify that this is the output file. All right, finally. All right. So I'm going to just actually opening this file is it's not exactly it's not going to produce to open it in the Jupyter notebook environment. So I have this magic command somewhere here about opening this notebook. Yeah. So we open the environment. Jupyter environment. And so here we have this Jupyter notebook with the code. Unfortunately, that's not what we want. We cannot evaluate this. I'm going to show it. So this actually, it's a markdown cell. It's one big markdown cell for all of the content of the article. I really don't know how exactly I'm supposed to change the language, right? The language and the interpretation in Jupyter text in order to understand, say, particular language like Raku. What I can do, and this is far from optimal solution, is that I can separate the code cells here, right? I can convert this code cell into, I mean, it was markdown cell, but now it's a code cell, right? And here, after I have specified that I want to have a Raku kernel, ideally I can evaluate this and this can produce a result. Obviously, doing this with all of the text, no, that's not good. It's it's too tedious. And so anyway, but it is we're getting somewhere, right? So we need to just adjust this notebook. All right. So what I'm going to be doing here, right? There's a couple of ways this to be remedied. Let's actually go back to this markdown document version. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to change all of the Raku cells to be, say, Python. And right. And so here we can see, I mean, we can render it, right? And now when I make this conversion, right? So ideally, here when I go back to this is going to, yeah, you can see that because I said Python, right? Now all of these cells were converted into some code. This is Python though, so I need to say that my kernel is Raku. And so, but this actually works. So it was an interesting gambit. Again, maybe this is possible to be done through the options of Jupyter text. Okay, yeah, great, whatever. All right, so basically this is it, but let's actually review what was happening. So we took a bunch of markdown files, made one big markdown file, converted it to POT6. Both the markdown file and the POT6 files, we could evaluate them with a function which allows this contextual evaluation of the Raku code. Then we created Mathematica notebook and a Jupyter notebook, and then we did some adjustments to them. So the packages which are being used, you can see, like, say, all right, so this is the Markdown grammar package, a package I more or less recently developed in the last month or so, and the one which is being used for the evaluation is package I developed last year, text code processing. I have heavily borrowed ideas from Brian Dugan's package Jupyter kernel, which I'm going to show it here, right? So, and the actual conversion to Jupyter notebook from Markdown with this Jupyter text. All right, so this was it. Thank you for your attention. Bye.